NCERT based single sentence questions, part 2, human reproduction, part 2. Process of formation of gametes from the primary sex organs. We said already in the previous gametogenesis. Now, let's continue. Gametes of male are called as, gametes of male are called spermatozoa. Gametes of female are called ovum. Primary sex organ of the male which produce sperms, testes. Primary sex organs of the female which produce ovum, ovary. Gametogenesis in male is known as spermatogenesis. Gametogenesis in female is known as oogenesis. Immature male germ cells of testes are spermatogonia. Spermatogenesis begins at this age, puberty. Location of spermatogonial stem cells inside wall of seminiferous tubule. Inside the wall of seminiferous tubule. Number of chromosomes in spermatogonial stem cells. 23 pairs, or we can say 46 chromosomes are present. Status of chromosomes in spermatogonial stem cell. They are in diploid condition. Divisions performed by spermatogonial stem cells. Mitosis. Primary spermatocytes are produced from. Primary spermatocytes are produced from spermatogonium. Primary spermatocytes are produced from spermatogonium. Division performed by primary spermatocytes. Meiosis. Secondary spermatocyte. Division performed by primary spermatocyte, particularly meiosis 1. Secondary spermatocytes are formed after this division. Secondary spermatocytes are formed from the primary spermatocyte after the meiosis 1. Number of secondary spermatocytes formed from each primary spermatocyte. 2. Status of chromosomes in secondary spermatocyte, that is haploid. Number of chromosomes in secondary spermatocyte, haploid number 23. Division performed by secondary spermatocyte. Meiosis 2. Division performed by secondary spermatocyte, meiosis 2. Division in secondary spermatocyte result the formation of spermatids. That 4 equal spermatids are formed. 4 equal haploid spermatids. 4 equal sized haploid. Spermatozoa are formed by the transformation of these cells, spermatids. After spermiogenesis, sperm head become embedded in these cells of seminiferous tubule, serotoli cells. Male germ cell which perform meiosis 1 during spermatogenesis, that is primary spermatocyte. Male germ cell which perform meiosis 2 during spermatogenesis, secondary spermatocyte. Male germ cell which perform mitotic division, spermatogonia, sperm mother cell. Division performed by spermatids to form spermatozoa. Division performed by spermatids to form spermatozoa. No division at all, just they come for maturation. Stages lie between the spermatogonial stem cells to spermatozoa during spermatogenesis. Primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, and secondary spermatocyte form spermatid. Process of formation of spermatozoa from spermatid is called as spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. Spermatogenesis include production of spermatozoa. Production of spermatozoa. Release of spermatozoa from the serotoli cells of seminiferous tubules is called spermiation. Release of spermatozoa from the serotoli cells of seminiferous tubules is called spermiation. Cells provide nourishment to the spermatozoa in seminiferous tubule are serotoli cells. Spermatogenesis results the formation of spermatozoa. Spermiogenesis results the transformation of spermatids into spermatozoa. Spermiation results the liberation of spermatozoa. Hypothalamic hormone, which is required to begin the spermatogenesis at the age of puberty. GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. Pituitary hormones which stimulate the secretion of androgens. GTH, which are nothing but FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Gonadial hormones which stimulate the spermatogenesis, androgens. Pituitary hormone which stimulate the secretion of some factors which help in the process of spermiogenesis, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. GnRH, expand, gonadotropin releasing hormone. GnRH released from hypothalamus. GnRH stimulates anterior pituitary. Hormones of adenohypophysis in male, which are released by the stimulation of hypothalamic hormone. GTH, which is nothing but FSH and LH. Hormones required for the transformation of spermatid into spermatozoa, FSH. The process said to be as spermiogenesis. FSH participate in spermiogenesis. Hormone which act on serotoli cells. FSH. Hormone which stimulate Leydig cells. LH, which is also called ICSH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Leydig cells secrete androgens. Major androgen is testosterone. FSH, expand, follicle stimulating hormone. That LH, expand, luteinizing hormone. ICSH, LH is also called ICHH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. LH is also called ICSH in male because it stimulates Leydig cells. Or interstitial cells. Each spermatozoa is composed of head, middle piece, and tail. Cap-like structure on the head of spermatozoa is known as acrosome. Whole body of spermatozoa enveloped by plasma membrane. Location of elongated haploid nucleus in spermatozoa, head. Enzymes of acrosome are hyaluronidase and acrosin, etc. Middle piece of sperm contain mitochondria. Sperm motility is essential for fertilization. True. Status of chromosomes in sperm. Sperm contain haploid set of chromosomes, that is in human being 23. Location of nucleus in sperm, present in the head region. Number of sperms ejaculated by human male during coitus. 200 to 300 millions of sperms will be released over. Percentage of sperms at least must have normal shape and size, that is 60%. That means out of 200 million, 120 to 180 million sperms need to be have must in normal shape and size. Enzymes that help to penetrate into the ovum are located in this part of spermatozoa, acrosome. Energy which required for the movement of tail comes from middle piece. Percentage of sperms must show vigorous motility and normal shape and size for normal fertility. That is 40%, 40% of 120 to 180 million, which means 120 to 180 million out of 40%, which means 48 to 72 millions of sperm should have vigorous motility and normal shape. Average number of sperm should be in normal shape and size for normal fertility in ejaculated semen. That what we said above, 120 to 180 million. 120 to 180 million. Average number of sperm should be normal shape, size along with vigorous motility for normal fertility in ejaculated semen, that is about 48 to 72 million. Role of accessory duct with respect to spermatozoa, transportation of sperms. Secretion of epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle and prostate are essential for maturation and motility of sperms. Semen include seminal plasma and sperms. Functions of male sex accessory ducts and gland are maintained by these testicular hormones, which we call it as androgens. Testicular hormones, also called androgens. The process of formation of mature female gamete is called oogenesis. Oogenesis is initiated at this time in female during embryonic development stage of a particular female when she is in the mother uterus. Gamete mother cells in female are called as oogonia. A primary spermatocyte complete the first meiotic division, reduction division, leading to formation of two equal or unequal, equal and haploid or diploid cells. Two equal haploid cells called secondary spermatocytes, which have only 23 chromosomes each. What the dash spermatocyte undergo the second meiotic division to produce the four equal secondary spermatocyte undergo the second meiotic division, meiosis 2, to produce the four equal haploid spermatids. In future, they mature in the form of spermatozoa. What would be the number of chromosomes in a spermatid? That is haploid number. 23 chromosomes are present. Next, the spermatids are transformed into spermatozoa by the process called spermiogenesis. After spermiogenesis, sperm heads become embedded in serotoli cells and are finally released from the seminiferous tubule by the process called spermiation. Spermatogenesis starts at the age of puberty due to significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is released from hypothalamus, which is in brief called GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. Spermatogenesis starts at the age of puberty due to the significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH, which is released from Hypothalamus. Hormone released from hypothalamus which initiate the spermatogenesis. The same. That's what we are talking about. Gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is nothing but called GnRH. The hormone called GnRH. The increased levels of GnRH then acts as at the anterior pituitary gland and stimulate the secretion of two gonadotropin hormone. What are they? Luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone, which is called LH, and follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone. Hormone of hypothalamus acts on Leydig cell, which promote the secretion of androgens is LH, luteinizing hormone. Hormones of Leydig cells which promote the process of spermatogenesis are androgens, testosterone, we can see. The dash acts at the Leydig cell and stimulate the synthesis and secretion of dash and dash. That LH acts at the Leydig cells and stimulate the synthesis and secretion of androgens, and in turn they stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. Androgens in turn stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. Dash of anterior pituitary acts on the Sertoli cells. FSH of anterior pituitary acts on the Sertoli cell and stimulate the secretion of some factor which help in the process of spermiogenesis. Spermatozoa is composed of head, neck, middle piece, head, neck, middle piece, tail. Whole body of sperm is enveloped by plasma membrane. The sperm head contain an elongated haploid nucleus, and the anterior portion which is covered by a cap-like structure called acrosome. Part of it which is filled with enzyme that help the fertilization of the ovum, acrosome. Middle piece possess numerous mitochondria. Which produce energy for the movement of tail that facilitates sperm motility and essential for fertilization. Human male ejaculate about 200 to 300 million sperm during a coitus, of which for normal fertility at least 60% of sperms must have normal shape and size. At least 40% of them must show vigorous motility. The human male ejaculates about 200 to 300 million sperms during coitus, of which for normal fertility at least 60%, that means 120 to 180 million sperms must have normal shape and size, and at least 40% in them, that means 48 to 72 million of them must show vigorous motility. Sperms released from the seminiferous tubules are transported by these ducts, accessory ducts. Secretions of epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, and prostate are essential for maturation and motility. The seminal plasma along with the sperms constitute the semen. The functions of male sex accessory ducts and glands are maintained by testicular hormones, which are called as androgens. Process of formation of mature female gamete is called. Process of formation of mature female gamete is called oogenesis. Oogenesis, which is markedly different from. Here it is wrongly. Answer came. Oogenesis, which is markedly different from spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis completely different from oogenesis. Dash is initiated during the embryonic development. Oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development stage when a couple of million gamete mother cells, oogonia, are formed within each fetal ovary. Within each fetal ovary. Number of oogonia are formed and added after birth in female. Number of oogonia. No formation and addition of oogonia after birth. In a female, after the birth, there is no formation, there is no adding. The cells start division and enter into the prophase 1 of the meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at that stage, called primary oocyte stage. Each primary oocyte surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells called as primary follicle. Primary follicle. Number of primary follicle present in each ovary at the time of birth in female human, that is about 1 or 2 million primary follicles are formed in each ovary. Large number of follicles degenerate during phase from birth to puberty. How many remain at puberty? That is about 60,000 to 80,000. 60,000 to 80,000 will remain. The first menstruation begins at puberty and is called menarche. Menstrual cycle ceases at some stage of life and is called menopause. Minimum age of menarche, that is 10 to 12 years approximately. Minimum age we are talking. Maximum age to get menopause, that is 50 years maximum. Time taken for one menstrual cycle is, each menstrual cycle takes approximately 28 days. Approximately how many primary oocytes will mature as Graafian follicle in the female per year? Max 12 to 13. 12 to 13. That is maximum number. If time gap between the menarche to menopause is 40 years, how many primary follicle mature as Graafian follicle in a female? Approximately, that is 13 we said per year, and 40 years we are taken. 40 years, that means it leads to nearly 520 max. The primary follicle gets surrounded by more layers of granulosa cell and a new theca are called secondary follicles. Tertiary follicle is characterized by anthem. Secondary follicle soon transform into a tertiary follicle which is characterized by a fluid filled cavity called anthem. Secondary follicle further developed as tertiary follicle. Graafian follicle develops from tertiary follicle. The theca layer of the follicle further organized as outer theca externa and inner theca interna. Primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle grows in size and completes its first meiotic division. After first meiotic division, primary oocyte form, haploid, secondary oocyte, and a tiny first polar body. Tiny first polar body. After first meiotic division, a small polar body is formed and a haploid secondary oocyte is getting formed over. Who retain bulk of the nutrient-rich cytoplasm of the primary oocyte after meiosis 1, and what is the advantage? Secondary oocyte will retain, not polar body, secondary oocyte will retain. It helps the future growth. It helps in the growth of embryo. Does the first polar body born out of first meiotic division divide further or degenerate? May divide or degenerate. It doesn't matter actually. May degenerate or divide. It doesn't matter. Glycoprotein layer formed surround the secondary oocyte is zona pellucida. The Graafian follicle ruptures to release the secondary oocyte from the ovary by the process called ovulation. Identify the process as spermatogenesis or oogenesis based on the given feature. It occurs in the testes. It occurs in the testes. That is spermatogenesis. Occur in ovary, oogenesis. Limited growth phase, limited growth phase, that is spermatogenesis. Elaborated growth phase, oogenesis. Each primary spermatocyte gives 4 sperms. Each primary oocyte gives only one ovum will form. No polar body formation, spermatogenesis. Polar body is formed, oogenesis. Begins at embryonic stage but suspends up to the puberty. It ceases around the age of 15. Oogenesis. Begins at puberty and extends up to senility. Spermatogenesis. One ovum released during the middle of a cycle, middle of the cycle. One ovum is released during the middle. That is oogenesis. The reproductive cycle in the female primates is called menstrual cycle. Example for female primates. Female primates like monkeys, apes, and human, where menstrual cycle present. First menstruation begins at puberty and is called menarche. In human female, menstruation is repeated at an average interval of about 28 or 29 days. Then, and the cycle event starting from one menstruation till the next one is called menstrual cycle. Number of ovum released in each menstrual cycle. Number of ovum released in each menstrual cycle, 1. Menstruation only occurs if the released ovum is not fertilized. Lack of menstruation may be indicative of pregnancy. Stress, poor health also can prevent. The stress and poor health also can prevent menstruation. Rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid-cycle is called LH surge. Follicular phase, menstrual phase, ovulatory phase, luteal phase. Arrange them in correct order. First menstrual phase, then follicular phase, ovulatory phase, then luteal phase. Identify the phases of menstrual cycle based on the given characteristic feature. Menstrual flow results due to breakdown of endometrial lining of the uterus and its blood vessels, which form liquid that comes out through vagina, that is menstrual phase. Primary follicles in the ovary grow to become a fully mature Graafian follicle, and simultaneously endometrium of uterus regenerates through proliferation, that is follicular phase. Changes in the ovary and the uterus are induced by changes in the levels of pituitary and ovarian hormone. The secretions of gonadotropins increase gradually during this phase and stimulate follicular development as well as secretion of estrogens by the growing follicles, that is follicular phase. Corpus luteum secrete large amount of progesterone, which is essential for the maintenance of endometrium, that is luteal phase. Both LH and FSH attain a peak level in the middle of the cycle, about 14th day, called ovulatory phase. The remaining parts of the Graafian follicle transform as corpus luteum, that is luteal phase. Rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid-cycle, called LH surge, induces rupture of Graafian follicle and thereby the release of ovum, ovulatory phase. Thickening of endometrium occur and it is necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy, that is luteal phase. All events of menstrual cycle stops and there is no menstruation if fertilization occur and female become pregnant. If fertilization does not occur, corpus luteum degenerates and degenerative form is called corpus albicans. Disintegration of the corpus luteum stops the secretion of progesterone hormone, and it causes disintegration of endometrial layer of uterus leading to the menstrual, marking a new cycle. Cyclic menstruation is an indicator of normal reproductive phase and extends between menarche and menopause. The cycle starts with the menstrual phase. When menstrual flow occurs, it lasts for 3 to 5 days. Coitus means copulation. Insemination means release of semen into the vagina during the process copulation, called insemination. Release of semen into vaginal cavity. Fertilization takes place at ampullary ischemic junction. We can see. Motile sperm swims rapidly, pass through the cervix, enter into the uterus, finally reach the junction of the isthmus and ampulla. That what you call ampullary and isthmic junction of the fallopian tube. Fertilization occur between the ampulla and isthmus of oviduct, that we say it as ampullo-ischemic junction. We say it as a fallopian tube. The ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary isthmic junction. And this is the reason why not all copulation lead to that. Okay, where fertilization takes place. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperm are transported simultaneously to the ampullary isthmic junction. This is the reason why not all copulation lead to fertilization and pregnancy. The process of fission of sperm with an ovum is called fertilization. During fertilization, a sperm comes in contact with the outermost layer, that is zona pellucida of secondary oocyte, the ovum, and induces changes in the membrane that block the entry of additional sperms. Thus, it ensures the only one sperm can fertilize an ovum, monospermy we can say. The secretions of acrosome help the sperm enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum through dash and the plasma membrane, through zona pellucida and plasma membrane. Primary oocyte completes meiosis 1 and forms secondary oocyte and polar body during this time period, that is between menarche to menopause. Each time one primary oocyte will complete, one primary oocyte undergo to become secondary oocyte. Minimum and maximum time period that a primary oocyte in meiosis 1 and prophase 1 from the time of birth to the time gap between menarche and menopause. Condition of primary oocyte with respect to, say again, minimum and maximum time period that a primary oocyte in meiosis 1 and prophase 1 from the time of birth to time gap between menarche and menopause. Condition of primary oocyte with respect to meiotic division phase, that is meiosis 1 and prophase 1, and meiosis 1, that is in prophase 1. Condition of secondary oocyte with respect to meiotic division phase. Secondary oocyte and completes the meiosis 1. Meiosis 1 is completed in them. Because of that only secondary oocyte is formed. And now it started meiosis 2 actually. Meiosis 2, at what phase it is? Metaphase 2. Meiosis 1 completed at puberty only. Meiosis 1 and by primary oocyte. Meiosis 1 results secondary oocyte. Meiosis 1 results secondary oocyte. Meiosis 2 is completed at the time of fertilization. And by secondary oocyte. If no fertilization, secondary oocyte at meiosis 2, metaphase 2, it will degenerate and do not complete meiosis 2. Yes, that's true. A primary oocyte which begins meiotic division in the female when she is in the uterus of mother, and division will be completed only by sperm stimulation in the fallopian tube when she enters the puberty age. Yes, that's true. No fertilization means no completion of meiosis 1. No, meiosis 1 will be completed by primary oocyte. So that's why it is false. No fertilization means no completion of meiosis 2 in secondary oocyte. Yes, that's true. Meiosis 1, 2 divisions in female are both are unequal. Unequal. Meiosis 1 is unequal. Meiosis 2 is also unequal. First polar body released after meiosis 1. Second polar body released after meiosis 2. Haploid ovum or oocyte formed after meiosis 2. Location of meiosis 1. Where does it occur in female? Ovary. Location of meiosis 2 up to metaphase 2. Ovary in the Graafian follicle. Location of meiosis 2, anaphase 2. It is happened by the penetration of sperm. So hence we can say it occur in the fallopian tube. Number of chromosomes in sperm 23. Number of chromosomes in ovum 23. Number of chromosomes in zygote 23 pairs. Haploid nucleus of the sperm and that of the ovum fuse together to form diploid zygote. Allosomal chromosomal patterns of the male and female respectively. XX, that is female, and XY, that is male. Heterogametic in human, male. Heterogametic, homogametic in human, female with one type of gamete. X type of sperm with X type of ovum result that what type of zygote? Female type of zygote, XX female. X type, Y type of sperm with X type of ovum result XY type of zygote, that is male. Sex of the baby determined by, in case of human being, it is determined by father, Y chromosome. All the divisions of zygote are completely mitotic. In which part of oviduct zygote begins the division? In which part of the oviduct? That is in fallopian tube. Ampulo-ischemic junction, we can say. Ampulo-ischemic junction. The division starts as the, wait a minute, fallopian tube. Straight away we can write isthmus. The division starts as the mitotic. The division starts as the mitotic moves of the oviduct called. The mitotic division starts as the zygote moves, dash of oviduct. The mitotic division starts as the zygote moves of oviduct called isthmus towards the uterus and form 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells called blastomeres. Embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called marula. Location of 2, 4, 8, 16 cell stages in female, that is in oviduct. Location of marula itself in the oviduct, isthmus. Marula continues to divide and transforms into blastocyst, and it further move into uterus. Blastomeres in the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called trophoblast. Inner group of cells attached to the trophoblast of blastocyst are called inner cell mass. Layer of blastocyst which attaches to the endometrium, that is trophoblast. Part of blastocyst which get differentiated as embryo, that is inner cell mass. After attachment, the uterine cells divide rapidly and covers the blastocyst. Now the endometrial layer of uterus is termed as decidua. Now the endometrium layer is termed as decidua. Termed as decidua, and the process can be called as implantation. Endometrial layer present between the myometrium and embryo is called as decidua basalis. Endometrial layer present between the embryo and the lumen of uterus is called as decidua capsularis. Endometrial layer other than the site of implantation is called decidua parietalis. Implantation leads to implantation. The decidua is the layer nothing but endometrium layer. We can see here. Decidua is nothing but endometrium layer. That we have three types: decidua basalis, capsularis, and parietalis. After the implantation, endometrium layer is called as decidua. Implantation leads to pregnancy. After implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast are called as chorionic villi. Finger-like projections of the trophoblast, which are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood, are called as chorionic villi. The chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigitated with each other and jointly form a structure called placenta. Structural and functional unit present between developing embryo, fetus, and maternal body is called placenta. It facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo and also removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste material produced by the embryo. Placenta. The placenta is connected to the embryo with the help of umbilical cord. Connection between the embryo and placenta, which helps in the transport of substances to and from the embryo, is called umbilical cord. Placenta acts as endocrine tissue also. True. HCG expand human chorionic gonadotropic hormone. Human chorionic gonadotropic hormone. HCG, HPL, human placental lactogen. Hormone released from the placenta. Human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, human placental lactogen hormone, and estrogen, progesterone. Relaxin hormone secreted from ovary. Hormone secreted by placenta, which is also produced from theca interna of Graafian follicle, that is estrogen. Hormone secreted by placenta, which is also produced from corpus luteum, that is progesterone. Hormone which are seen in the female only during pregnancy, that is human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, human placental lactogen hormone. During pregnancy only. Increased production of these hormones in the maternal blood are essential for supporting fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, and maintenance of pregnancy. That is estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, and prolactin, then thyroxine, etc. Immediately after implantation, inner cell mass differentiate into an outer layer called ectoderm, then inner layer, and soon appears a middle layer called mesoderm. Inner layer is said to be endoderm. In between them, soon a layer appears, that is mesoderm. All tissue organs formed from these layers. ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Cells of inner cell mass which form three germ layers. Stem cells, we can say, and leads to all tissues and organs. Cells of inner cell mass which have the potency to form all tissues and organs, they are called as stem cells, pluripotent stem cells in general we say. Pregnancy time period is called gestation. Gestation period in human is 9 months. Gestation period in dog, that is about 58 to 68 days approximately. Gestation period in elephant, that is about 18 to 22 months. Gestation period in cats, nearly 65 days. Number of trimesters with gestation period of human classified into 3. Number of months in each trimester, 3. Major organ formed after first month of pregnancy. Major organ is heart. By the end of second month of pregnancy, fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of third month or first trimester, major organ systems are formed. Major organ systems are formed. Major changes noticed during fifth month. The first movement of fetus. First movement of fetus is noticed over and hair on head. Major changes observed by the end of second trimester or sixth month or 24 weeks. Body is covered with fine hair. Body is covered with fine hair. Eyelids are separate. Eyelids are separate, and eyelashes are formed. Eyelids are separate and eyelashes are formed. Limbs and external genital organs are developed after first trimester. First heart sound can be heard at the first month itself. Major organ systems are formed by the end of third month. Limbs and digits are developed by the end of second month. First movement of the fetus and hair and head during this month, that is on fifth month. Body discovered by fine hair, eyelids are separate, eyelashes are formed after, that is on sixth month. The first sign of growing fetus may be noticed by listening to heart sound carefully through stethoscope. By the end of first month itself, fetus fully developed and ready for delivery by end of this month, that is ninth month, end of gestation. Breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors for bringing up a healthy baby. True or false? True. Vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of pregnancy causes expulsion or delivery of the fetus. This process of delivery of the fetus or childbirth is called parturition. The signals for parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild uterine contractions called fetal ejection reflex. This action triggers release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Oxytocin acts on the uterine muscle and causes stronger uterine contraction, which in turn stimulate further secretion of oxytocin. Fetal ejection reflex. The stimulatory reflex between the uterine contraction and oxytocin secretion continues, resulting in stronger and stronger contraction. This leads to the expulsion of the baby out of the uterus through the birth canal is called as parturition. Parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. What about placenta after the delivery of infant? Placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. Placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. What do you think the doctors injected to induce the delivery? Oxytocin injection, which makes a stimulation of the contraction of uterine muscle. Mammary glands of the female undergo differentiation during pregnancy and start producing milk towards the end of pregnancy by the process called lactation. The milk produced during initial few days of lactation is called colostrum, which contains several antibodies absolutely essential to develop resistance for the newborn baby. So then that's it. Thank you.